Welcome to a Walking with J.Beau, an almost daily walking vlog. We have our night setting on, as we all like. At least I do anyway. I'm not going to do a selfie tonight. A couple of reasons. One, I'm not sure if it's going to rain. And two, again, I'm walking on about 3 hours sleep. Which I'm probably going to try to get some sleep tonight before going to range day tomorrow. Which we're not even sure how range day tomorrow is going to be, because it's supposed to rain in the morning a couple times, but in between the raindrops we're supposed to have breaks in the rain. Needless to say, I won't be able to bring my black powder tomorrow. And we're probably going to have a short day shooting tomorrow because of those issues. Usually we bring a table and we have a whole bunch of firearms out on it. And when there's threats of rain like that, I'm not really able to do that. So tomorrow we're only going to be shooting about 3 different calibers, mainly 9mm and 22s, 22 LR, always a lot of fun. So we are night walking. And we have the night setting. You can hear the peepers peeping. There we go. I just figured out what was making that clicking noise when I wear my chest harness. Even though the camera is mounted tightly, the connection itself to the harness wiggles a little bit, makes a clicky noise. So I am wearing a hoodie. A light one of my lightest ones I have, because it's not really dramatically cold. It's not warm either. It's a little humid.
0.5 miles. Time 8 minutes 28 seconds.
You're going to hear the woman in my pocket because I don't have my Bluetooth tonight. So when you hear that voice that just spoke, it's the woman I keep in my pocket. Now we might see some fog on this walk, maybe. It all depends, because I know as the night goes on, it's supposed to cool off. today was pretty nice, pretty warm, mid-70s, but humid. It's humid. So as the night cools off, we're expecting to get some heavy fog before morning, because as soon as the air temperature gets down to the dew point, it starts condensing the moisture in the air. That's how fog is made. So we'll probably get some fog. If the temperature goes down to 55, 54, we'll start seeing fog. Right now it's still about 62, I think. 63, something like that. Hope you enjoyed the walk last night. Got shoot cycling jugs I found. That was quite the show carrying those, let me tell you. I think when I start this video tonight, I'm going to put a photograph of me carrying those jugs from the security camera at the house. Pretty funny photo, actually. So anyway, I'm happy to be walking with you. Thank you for walking with me. I am wearing some cheap Walmart sneakers I bought a few years ago. The soles are wearing out, but these are so comfortable to walk with. And if I wore these for walking, they probably wouldn't last long. But I've had them for 4 or 5 years now. And if they fall apart while I'm walking, that's okay with me. I think it was only like 20 bucks for these. There's some more peepers over here from the mosquito swamp. I'm guessing frogs like to eat mosquitoes. Mosquitoes. So anyway, what I did with my hoodie is I zipped the zipper up underneath the camera, so it steadies the camera and stops it from rattling. Aren't I clever? There's a peeper peepering. I got my little flashlight with me. Any deer out here tonight. Definitely did not want to go out walking this late. I mean, it's not late at night, but we're going shooting tomorrow and I am running on 3 hours sleep. What I should have done was just stayed home and caught up on sleep, but I'm dumb. Here I am. Enjoy my stupidity. Flashlight on, put it on the dim setting. I don't see any eyeballs looking at me from the woods. A lot of times when you shine a flashlight in the woods like that, you'll see eyeballs looking back at you. Not tonight. So there you have it. There it is. Wish they would fix the street light. There's a street light just past that sign right here. It's been out for going on 2 years now. And you know what'll happen? I'll finally call and say, "You guys gonna replace that light?" And they'll say, "We have it on a list to do soon." That'll be the answer I get. Whether or not it's actually on a list, who knows? Anyways, we got a lot of stuff going on in the world. President Trump wrapped up his trip. As we see all of these apple tree blossoms, the apple blossoms are out. You can see that. That apple tree is so old. That was there when I was a kid, and I'm coming up on 60 in 3 years. Just give you an idea. And it's probably been there 100 years before I saw it. I don't know how long apple trees last, but that one's been there for a damn long time. The other thing I like about walking with this chest view is once in a while you will see my hand swing in front while I'm walking. I think that's kind of cool. So I got an interesting, annoying story to talk about. We sent the brand new Henry rifle off to be repaired. Wanted to have it back before range day tomorrow. Well, lo and behold, it's going to be delivered on Friday. The UPS email and text, the tracking number, said it would be delivering a little bit before noon.
Distance 1 mile. Time,
Guess what they did?
30 seconds.
They tried to deliver it at 10:18 a.m. Nobody was available to sign for it because we weren't expecting it to come at that time. Home security camera says they didn't even knock on the door or ring the doorbell. He just stuck the thing on there saying nobody's home and left. Probably because he had a workload that was too big today and just assumed that nobody was home. And that kind of stuff is annoying. So now they're going to try to deliver tomorrow, and the tracking number says after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we're not going to be home. Well, we'll be, but you know, what if they try to deliver early again? We're not going to be home. So basically, Henry repaired this rifle, and an adult signature is required. And yes, you can sign for a firearm if you're not an FFL, if you own the firearm and you already did a background check to buy it. And it is being sent by an FFL. So I hope that clears up that mystique for you, unless your specific state prohibits it, which may be possible. Otherwise, it is legal. Now I turn the flashlight off because we're past the darkness. We have passed the darkness. So, an interesting story today. Back in 2014, I bought a Judas Priest album, Killing Machine, which I already had a copy, but what I'm saying is, I'm gonna wait till the muffler goes by here. The muffler-less car. So anyway, in 2014, I bought a Mobile Fidelity Sound Labs pressing of that. MAHA pressed a whole bunch of completely remastered albums, and it is the best sounding Judas Priest album ever. And fortunately, I have other Judas Priest MAHA pressings, because those are awesome. And a lot of really good stuff. So if you see a Mobile Fidelity Sound Labs, or MAHA for short, album, and it's in great shape, just trust me, it'll be perfect. So they reissued a whole bunch of ones, like the Cars and all kinds of albums. They're also on what I'm guessing to be about 200 gram vinyl. Very heavy, thick vinyl slabs that won't warp. They lay flat. No imperfections, virgin vinyl. Brand spank me new, non-recycled vinyl. Some of these companies, when they first started pressing albums, were using cheap vinyl pellets from China. They had imperfections in them. Some of them, the vinyl just made noise. It was pressed properly, looked good. They were noisy. Junk, garbage, like you would expect from China. So, you can trust MAHA. Now, they'll cost you more when they're new. So, instead of $30, you'll pay $40, $45 for the album. Well, let me tell you, you know where that money went. So anyway, I paid about $10 more than the going price, 2014. And that album right now, in the condition it is worth between $100 and $160 right now for one album. Price of vinyl has skyrocketed due to supply and demand. Lack of supply, big demand. There's only so many used albums left. A lot of them went to the dump. A lot of people just threw them away. You can believe that, because they weren't worth selling at the time in the 90s. You know, you bring 1,000 albums to a used vinyl shop, and unless they are immaculately perfect, you're going to get about $100 for 1,000 albums. That's what some people did. Or they had a yard sale, or they sent them to the dump. there's that. On top of that, I don't even want to venture to guess what my collection's worth now. I don't think I'd be able to insure it. Being honest about it, I don't think I would. There's this estate sale. An estate sale. I've been seeing those in this neighborhood. People are dying. I don't know what that's all about. I have a hunch, but we can't talk about it. I mean, people do get old and die, so I am in complete I don't give a crap mode tonight. A dog across the street barking at me. I'm actually walking in my pajama pants. Won't go shopping in them though. These particular pajama pants look like sweatpants. The only reason why.
1.5 miles. Time 25 minutes 38 seconds.
25 minutes for 1.5 miles. That's what she just said out of my pocket. Is that a, excuse me, sir, is that a Google in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me? Little humor there, little humor. Humor. You want to hear some humor? Couldn't even believe this, I had to read it twice. Janet Mills of Maine, the same governor who doubled and tripled down on trans women and women's sports in Maine, despite it being unpopular in the state by a majority, was just named Person of the Year. Guess with who? Recipient of the Year, I should say. The RFK Foundation, that is Robert F. Kennedy Sr. Foundation, a nonprofit that awards people for doing things like fighting for voting rights, fighting against violence and sexual violence towards women, if you can believe that. That's one of the things they stand for. And they give Janet Mills an award because she stood up to Trump, basically. It doesn't say that, but that's why she got it. She stood up to Trump. So that's why she got that award. And that's the mentality they have. It's a matter of fact that, some trans women are dangerous to women. They perv around in restrooms and locker rooms. Now, I'm not saying all. I'm just saying that women don't feel safe. And they have a right to not feel safe. And, I don't know what to do about that. But I know biological males do not belong in the women's locker room, girls' locker room in high school. There have been instances where there has been problems. A lot of trans people have mental issues. That's one of the problems. Most of the time they're not violent, but still have mental issues. And women don't feel safe. And they're forcing it on them. And Governor Janet Mills gets rewarded for that. So she can feel. We had a memory card that was full. That's what happened with that. So we're going to walk down this way. So there you have it. Sorry about the memory card being full. I'm going to make sure I tilt this back up and we don't get a shot of the ground. Somebody's got their air conditioning going tonight. It's definitely humid tonight. I don't think it's humid enough to run AC though. To each their own, I reckon. So anyway, Janet Mills gets an award for abusing women. Isn't that lovely? Isn't that just ducky? So you know what Trump's going to have to do, don't you? I don't know how it's going to be perceived or received by the public. I think it'll be actually okay because the public is fully aware of what the courts are doing, obstructing President Trump from deportations. So he's going to suspend habeas corpus. He has the constitutional authority to do that in a national emergency. He has declared an emergency. He's been trying his best not to do that. Been trying to rely on the courts, but they're not going to do the right thing. So he's probably going to invoke that, which the last time it was invoked was World War II, and we ended up with internment camps for Japanese American citizens, and that didn't go over very well. So this time though, since he's being hampered on removing what people voted for, that's the key thing right there, people actually voted to have illegals deported, that if he suspends habeas corpus, which FDR did, and also Abraham Lincoln did during the Civil War, because the courts were influenced by the South and they were obstructing President Lincoln. So this would not be unprecedented, though we have not seen that for 80 years. Perhaps it's time for President Trump to do that. Suspending habeas corpus would automatically give these people no constitutional rights, and we can just deport whoever the hell we wanted to, which is what the left is going to cry about. They're going to say Trump is a dictator. He's circumventing this and that, the Constitution, even though he's using a tool in the Constitution in the national emergency, which it is, because if you listen to the courts, they want due process,
4 minutes, 48 seconds.
which is why you hear the Democrats scream about due process endlessly, because with due process you get court dates. Illegals were already getting court dates to show up years later, which they don't show up for, and nobody does anything about removing them because they're in sanctuary cities. That's how that whole scheme worked. So if you suspend habeas corpus, these people don't have a right to go to court because they're not citizens, and they get deported, they get deported. Can that be messy? Yeah, sure it can. That means some people who probably would have been good citizens will get deported, and technically it'll be the fault of the Democrats and these activist judges, because if they would have just allowed ICE to do what they were supposed to do, they wouldn't have to do it that way. So that's what's going on with that. Stephen Miller was talking about that to the media a couple days ago. It's something they're thinking about doing. Still early in his presidency, and they would have to start that before the elections next year, because I think it would be a big hit for the Republicans, and if the Democrats win the House, they're going to pass legislation to put a halt to it. But if we have the Senate, I don't think it would pass. So this is what people voted for. This is a mandate. I think Trump ought to just suspend that and let the dust fall where it may. And that's what I think. I think they're going to exhaust every avenue through the courts, try to do it the right way, but I don't think they're going to go his way. They will on some of it, and I think he ought to just do it. Just do it. It's been established that they're here illegally, so they already broke the law. So I don't have an issue with that. You came here illegally, you broke the law. Nobody is above the law. Remember that, Democrats? The law is the law is the law. The Supreme Court doesn't have the time to look at all of this stuff. They don't take every case for that reason. They have a full docket as it is. So whenever Trump has to do an emergency thing with the Supreme Court, and right now the liberals and the media have been working on the Supreme Court justices with propaganda to try to pressure them on the birthright citizenship issue. The way it is right now, if you come across the border illegally and you're pregnant, you're 8 months pregnant, a month later you have a baby, that baby gets born as an American citizen automatically. That has to stop. That has to stop. So hopefully it will. Somebody's got a fire going there. Fire pit. We're in town here also, and ended up having the fire department show up because I was burning stuff in a barrel. He told me I had to get a permit. Despite living where we are for 20 years, burning stuff every year, never needing a permit. That's the kind of crap you get in a Democrat city. And unfortunately, this still is. Run by a bunch of fools and idiots. There's a couple of tires out here. Can't believe somebody still to this day will try to throw tires away. Nobody picks up tires. Those have to go to the dump, and you need to pay a fee, something like $3 or $5 per tire or something. Or you can do like they used to do in the 70s. I'm not advocating this, but I'm saying that's what people are doing. And this is what I mean about Democrat cities. All right, at first you register your car, City Hall, because at the time you couldn't do it online. You register your car at City Hall, and you would get a complimentary dump pass. You'd be able to bring 20 trips to the dump for free. You wouldn't be charged anything regardless of what you were bringing. Refrigerator, stove, tires, whatever, okay? And it was done because they wanted to clean up people's properties and get rid of people having a Sanford and Son yard, you know what I mean? So that was all great, worked great, because people were rolling stuff down a hill. Basically, they'd park their pickup truck somewhere and they'd push the stove out down a hill somewhere in the woods. So this was very effective. It was also the reason why I started having deposit returns on bottles. Because when they started that, there was glass bottles. Glass bottles were being broken. Side of the road, thrown out of the car. You know, kids walk on that, cut their feet, whatever. Animals would get glass stuck in their hooves. And so they started having a deposit. Glass bottles used to be 10 cents a piece. And in the 80s, that was a lot more than what 10 cents is worth now. So soda was also a lot cheaper. It was under $1. So I'm starting to sound like Grandpa. We used to buy a bottle of Coke for a nickel. 5 pieces of candy for a penny. I remember penny candy. I used to pay a penny for different candies.
2.5 miles. Time 42 minutes 56 seconds.
Tootsie Rolls and Tootsie Pops and licorice fish. Penny a piece. Go there with $1, you get a bag with 100 candies in it. Talk about being in heaven when you're a kid. So anyway, back to my story. People would roll stuff down a hill. So I said, okay, well, this program's successful. How can we exploit this to get some tax revenue? Oh, okay, well, we'll start charging so-and-so money per ton. Or we'll start charging for tires, we'll start charging for this or that, and we'll give them a fine for rolling stuff down a hill. All right, well, you were still getting a free dump pass when you'd register your car, but now you had to pay for tires. So the passes started getting used less, and it was costing them money to make those and process them. So they started charging money for the passes to cover the cost of the dump and processing garbage, because the city raised taxes and they needed a revenue. And so they were doing things at the time like coming up with a rain runoff tax, actually calculating your square footage depending on how much rain falls in that year. That is what your sewer bill would be, the water treatment plant. So you would get a sewer bill, a water bill, and a rain runoff bill. So that became an immense expense to local businesses who packed their crap and moved to Auburn, which is why there's nothing in Lewiston. So anyway, back to the garbage and the dump. So they would make you buy a dump pass. First it was $5, then it was $10, and $15, $20, who knows what it is now. And at first it was you pay this and your first 5 trips were free. After that you had to pay for stuff like tires and whatever. So people are rolling them down a hill. So what do I see out in the woods now while I'm walking? Anything that is difficult to get rid of at the recycling place, and they charge you money. We're now seeing it in the woods on my walks. And that pocketbook is still there. That has been there for 4 days now. Pocketbook next to that ashtray. One of these days it'll be gone, and I'm not going to know if somebody stole it or not. So anyway, all of that just came about because I saw those 2 tires on the side of the road. And the reason why they're on the side of the road is they thought the trash was going to pick them up, but they're not. You have to bring those to the dump and get rid of them and pay $5 a piece for a fee. So I guarantee you those 2 tires are going to end up being rolled down a hill. Sometimes, if you have tires, you can take out a Craigslist ad and have a for free. Take them for free instead of trying to throw them away. And a lot of times these teenagers will buy them so they can fit them on their car, just so they could do burnouts and cook the tires off. So then I'm sure they throw the remnants down a hill. So regardless, and that's the thing with Democrats and liberals, they always seem to have good intent, and they don't know how to manage jack shit. They have no experience in managing anything, governing anything. They come up with these ideas like, oh, wouldn't it be great? Let's get rid of plastic straws because plastic is bad. Well, plastic is bad. But what are you doing with a paper straw? And you force people to use them. They get soaked with what you're drinking, unless you drink it down real fast. Some people like to stir their ice. You can't do that with a paper one, it'll bend, it gets weak. They cost more, and they charge you more for those when you buy your drink. So, what does your drink come in? Does it come in a paper cup? Nope. It comes in a plastic cup. So you go to this fast food place, you get a plastic tray with a plastic lid, with plastic utensils, because you're not going to get metal utensils, and they don't make them out of cardboard and paper. So you're going to get plastic, plastic. But your fucking straw will be paper. Somebody explain to me the logic in that. Because the ocean has plastic in it? Well, that all comes from China and Asia, most of it. And drifts across the ocean. You know, currents, ever hear of those? Forcing people to use a paper straw in the United States, where we actually have a waste program that will actually recycle plastic straws or dispose of them properly in pollution-free incinerators, which are very expensive to build, but they can build them. This is the logic Democrats bring with them. These knee-jerk, do good, without having a plan or figuring out the consequences. Oh, everybody should be able to come to America and be free. Yeah, well, taxpayers got to pay for that. So many people came. We couldn't vet them. Rapists came, child molesters, murderers, lunatics, psychos, mental defectives. For all the good ones that came, there were an equal amount of bad ones, because nobody was looking. So, get out, go, deport. I have run out of F's to give. That's the difference between a Republican and a Democrat. A Republican would do more to prevent the problem in the first place, But when there is one that we didn't create, they won't let us fix it. Because empathy screaming. Oh, you're racist. You're this, you're that. A lot of people sitting outside with campfires tonight. It's Friday night. So I hope you find this conversation interesting. But that's the logic they use. So, you know, they want to save some fish in California, so they turn off the water, and then half the state burns down, and they don't have water to put it out. I mean, how freaking stupid is that?
Time, 51 minutes, 16 seconds.
I mean, how stupid is that? Pretty friggin' stupid. Pretty stupid. And that woman that got upset because of my rhetoric, she refuses to watch my walks. Well, she watched like 3, maybe 4 walks, so she knows what I was about. She just decided to blow a gasket that day. I'm not going to watch your programs anymore. Because she has Trump derangement syndrome. That's about the time they were talking about Doge, and, you know, she referenced the talking points, of course, that the media pushes. People are going to die losing their Medicaid, blah, blah, blah. They're going to starve. Whatever, right? And at some point you have to acknowledge that these people are easily influenced because they're either mentally very weak, they can't rely on their own thinking, they have to be told. They're one of those people that be in a burning building, they won't know what to do. They'll wait for somebody that's in authority to tell them where to go and what to do. Common sense, lady. The fucking building's on fire. Get the fuck out of it. It's really that simple. And some people can't make that decision. And it's pretty sad to watch, because they end up voting for complete incompetent idiots like Kamala Harris. And she is an incompetent, complete effing moron. Joe Biden was dementia-ridden. And, you know, President Trump and Department of Justice and the DNI, Director of National Intelligence, are talking about finding out who was covering for Biden's incompetence and dementia and doing the president's job for him, which includes using an auto pen, which is the president's signature, without the president actually doing it. And now we're finding out all the dirty details because the Democrats have thrown the Bidens under the bus. They're going to blame this entire election cycle. They're going to blame Trump. I don't mean by blaming Trump, I mean blaming the Bidens for Trump winning, because Biden was incompetent. And they hid that. So the Democrats are starting to get ready to throw people under the bus and say these people in the White House knew his decline and did nothing. It's their fault. So next time, don't vote for a Republican, which is basically going to be the theme. We have figured out our mistake, and it won't happen again, we promise you. Yeah, well, Joe Biden didn't bypass the DNC or primary elections and anoint Kamala Harris as the candidate. The DNC did that. The Democrats, the same ones blaming this on Biden and his staff. So basically what it's looking like right now is, if it turns out people were using the presidential auto pen without the president's authority, that is treason, that is traitorous, that is a crime, and this administration will prosecute those. You can damn well bet they will. So we got all kinds of stuff to look forward to. The DNI today was talking about Adam Schiff knowingly trying to unseat a sitting president, a duly elected one, by doing illegal things. So that's going to be coming up as well. And they're talking about it. These are people in the White House now talking about it, not congressmen looking to raise money or to play partisan politics. But these are people that are in their jobs right now to protect this country, who said that that put us at risk, and an example of them has to be made. So hang on to your asses for that, folks. That's going to be a lot of fun. Also, Tulsi Gabbard came out yesterday and on Fox News announced that the authorities are going to be going to talk with James Comey, because James Comey on Instagram posted a video clip, from what I understand, or a photograph of seashells arranged on a beach that spelled 8647. In other words, we need to 86, which is nix, get rid of 47. So immediately, President Trump's son, Trump Jr., said, what, you trying to get him assassinated? Are you trying to get another attempt on his life with that? And James Comey was like, oh, well, I thought it was some kind of political message, but I didn't know what it meant. This is the former director of the FBI, doesn't know what it means to 86 something. It's as common as saying put it in file 13, right? Everybody knows that. So he's going to get a visit from 3 different agencies having to do with protecting the president, which would be the Secret Service, FBI, and we'll see what the DOJ does, if anything. These people are dangerous, folks. James Comey is a horrible person. And Donald Trump is revealing all of these people just because they hate him and want him gone so bad. Because they don't believe in democracy. They can't accept the fact that 49.99% of the country voted and elected Trump. They can't comprehend that. Oh, 30-something, 70-something felonies, whatever the hell it is. Everybody knew those trials were crooked. It's politically biased. Americans don't like that shit. They just don't. So he got a lot of people to vote for him just because they did that. You can't allow that in this country. That's banana republic crap. Democrat crap. That's what Democrats do. They don't believe in democracy. They want a one-party state. They're a bunch of fucking communists. And I'm going to treat them with no respect. If you're a Democrat watching this, well, why the fuck are you still a Democrat? If you're going to love your party and stay in it, well, go fuck yourself. I don't want to talk to you. It's my honest opinion about it. Right now, they're communist propaganda news networks.
Distance 3.5 miles.
3.5 miles.
Time 59 minutes 34 seconds.
Excuse my French, man, but things need to be said. Things need to be effing said. These people have no morals, no scruples. They're horrible people. Nobody argues that Trump won the election. All right? That's something they cannot argue. They tried to say, there's even some liberal idiots on social media that believe he cheated. He had to have. The reason why we said that about Biden is because they did cheat. They took advantage of a pandemic, and there were in the swing states, and they calculated that in the swing states, you had Democrat attorney generals and secretary of states, and they changed the rules for the pandemic. That's what they did. That is on public record. They changed the way they do elections for that election. And they allowed mail-in ballots to not be checked, signatures and all that, which is what their law says they have to do, but they usurped that because of a pandemic, an emergency. The governor declared an emergency. See how that works? So Trump's like, okay, well, after I'm elected, after I win, I'm sworn in, I'm going to declare an election and get these people out of the country that you guys let in. Now the courts all of a sudden care about immigration. They didn't give a flying fuck when Biden was letting millions of people in, despite Republicans filing injunctions. You can't do that. Now Trump scratches his ass, there's a fucking injunction. You know, he needs to suspend habeas corpus. Get shit done, just do it. We got a short ass window, you know? We have a very short window to get this done in. 2 years sounds like a long time. Well, it's actually less than before Democrats are sworn in. So we got 1 3/4 year left. Now, if we win the House again, that's fine. But there's no guarantee. So we have to treat it like we're losing the House. And they're going to spend their time impeaching Trump again. Because they also haven't learned their lesson that the public is tired of that shit. So if they start doing all this impeachment talk between now and midterms, I mean, you might very well see the Democrats cause themselves to lose because things will be going good with jobs and money and people will be happy. They're trying to tell them we want to impeach Trump after what Biden did. Good luck with that. I know sometimes people can have a short memory, but it's not going to be that short. Especially right now, where 49% polled, and all polls I've seen, including the ones that hate Trump, say 49% are supporting the direction the country is going in the right direction. That's what they said. And Trump's approval numbers are still good. He did tick down a couple points, but that's coming back. And what I mean by a couple, I literally mean 2 points. So he didn't drop like a rock. He's still popular. So the media is lying about that. They tried to say that he wasn't well received in the Middle East. CNN decided to cover the P. Diddy Combs trial. Barely covered anything Trump did in the Middle East because he's having a phenomenal, successful trip. No, we can't have Trump looking good. No. We're not going to show it. Guess they haven't heard of the internet. People are going to see that anyway. The bottom of one of my shoes is starting to peel off. Not at the seam where it's glued, but the bottom of the sole is worn out. It's like I was telling you, it's a very cheap pair of sneakers, but damn, are they comfortable. Fix that when I get home. Well, I got a good sweat going. It's supposed to cool off tonight and get fog. It doesn't feel like it's cool yet. But that sky has that look like the clouds are low, like there's fog up there. It's going to come down here. Fogs are everywhere. And we're walking through the final stretch now. Yep, so basically, you know, we always have something going on with, you know, I'm getting pretty heated with these judges. I really am. I mean, it's nice to have due process and judges, but at this point, they are clearly abusing their authority. We have one judge removing the powers of the president for the entire country. You know, I'm tired of it. And I think we're going to see Trump do that. I think he's going to suspend habeas corpus under an emergency powers thing. And we have the Republicans in Congress. There's going to be some Republicans who aren't going to agree with that, which is the other problem we have right now. We just had the big, beautiful bill fail out of committee today, I think, by 5 Republican votes. And one of them was, guess who? Guess who? Congress. Who did I say always gets on a soapbox to raise money and bitch and moan and make his video clips? Chip Roy. Chip Roy out of Texas, who said this bill does not do enough to cut spending, so he wouldn't support it. The other 4 Republicans, never heard of them. Have no idea why they are on a committee. So they're going to have to work, and they're going to have to make this into 2 separate bills now, which is going to be even more difficult to pass everything.
Distance 4 miles. Time 1 hour 7 minutes 46 seconds.
When you have one big beautiful bill, you have all of the stuff that some people don't support mixed in, but they end up voting for it because they're getting something anyway. When you split it up into 2 bills, you don't get that. Now you got more room for people to stand on a soapbox and not get anything done. And it's just like the Republicans to snatch defeat out of the jaws of victory. Every fucking time these guys do that. Every time. They won the White House. We had Democrat senator, Republican senator, Tillis, who said Americans need to get involved. They need to get involved in this. I was like, what are you talking about? How fucking dumb do you have to be? Americans, voters just got involved, and they gave the President of the United States fucking Congress, both chambers. Votes did that, you dumbass. The American voters are involved. Do your fucking job. Do what we voted for. Stop grandstanding. You know? Fucking Republicans, man, you know? They get the trifecta, and then they look like a monkey fucking a football. Excuse my French, but that's what they're doing. Don't try to visualize that. I'm sorry, I'm getting heated, I'm passionate. Well, President Trump's been busy in the Middle East, you know? Can't spend his whole day talking with each member of Congress. This is where we need people like Charlie Kirk, Steve Bannon, and all these people to get behind the president and say, look, any of you fucking Republicans don't get on board, we are going to make sure you lose your fucking seat. You're going to get primaried. That's what needs to happen. It's pretty sad that that needs to happen. At least that's one thing about the Democrats. They vote like a communist bloc. The leader of the party says this is what we're doing, and they do it. But they're communist. and we're not. So this is what happens. You can look at this in a good way or a bad way. Right now, in my opinion, at this point in the history of this country, this is a pivotal point to save this country. There's no time for this fucking shit. None. Tone deaf is a friggin' understatement. Right? Get a fucking clue. I feel like doing in Back to the Future there, knocking on their heads. Hello, McFly, McFly. Amazing. Last time we had the trifecta was the first time Trump was elected. Paul Ryan took advantage of the fact Trump was new and did his bullshit. Now Trump knows better, and he's getting better results, but I think eventually the Republicans will end up passing something, but it's not going to be originally what Trump wanted. And that's the problem. The other danger is Trump being a lame duck president. That's the other danger we need to talk about honestly, is we want to get a Republican elected, but at some point it's going to switch over to supporting the new candidate as opposed to Trump. That's just the way that works. So if we get somebody like J.D. Vance, who's looking better and better as we go, to be selected as the candidate, young, fit, ultra smart, conservative, common sense, he can do a lot of like what DeSantis did in Florida nationally. And so that'll be a plus. And I think that may happen. Right now, J.D. Vance, I think, would be the best candidate, or Marco Rubio. And I know some people are going to roll their eyes, but I think Marco Rubio has proven himself. I think he's a good guy. And if he was a rhino, he would not have signed on with the Trump administration. And he's doing a damn good job. Damn good job. So that's if for some reason J.D. Vance doesn't pursue that. But I think J.D. Vance will be the candidate. And I know it's still early. If the Trump administration goes south, becomes very unpopular, then probably not. You'll have the same situation with Kamala Harris and Biden in reverse. But I think the Trump administration is going to do well. And this stuff he's doing now is going to start paying off. So I think I'm doing good tonight for 3 hours sleep. So I'm going to go home, have something to eat later before going to bed. Take a nice hot shower when I get back, have coffee, whatever, soft drink. And then recoup. I only need about 4 hours of sleep to operate well. So 3 hours was almost enough, and I'm doing okay. So I've been up since early this morning, and 3 hours sleep. Spent the whole day, and now walking 5 miles plus, and I feel pretty good actually. I'll probably crash and burn in about an hour from now though. That's all right. So maybe I need to walk with less sleep more often. I was pretty passionate tonight. I've really worn out my patience. You need some 15-inch plastic rims, clear coat finish on them. It's like they're free for the taking. Free!
Distance 4.5 miles. Time 1 hour 16 minutes 10 seconds.
There we go. Thank you, darling. Thank you for keeping track. 4.5 miles. What would I do without you, love? A lot of people outside tonight. Campfires and stuff. Nice. It's nice. Pretty dead out here car-wise. It is getting late. Probably about 10:30. Let's finish up this walk here with the owl. With the owl. Yowl. So, well, son of a bitch, right? Get the greatest president in our history since, most consequential one, I think, since FDR anyway. And there's only a handful of presidents I can think of that had this big of an impact. Woodrow Wilson, FDR, Abraham Lincoln, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington. Can't really think of anything else. I mean, everybody else was filler, you know, McKinley and all that. Andrew Jackson, that was one. President Jackson. Yep, Trump actually admires him. The other one was Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt's Rough Riders, which is what the Heritage Rough Rider pistols are named after, I'm pretty sure. War of 1812 and all that. Teddy Roosevelt was a badass. So, anyway. Something else I wanted to talk about tonight, but I forget. Don't have enough time probably anyway. I did see a scale model that Trump put in the Oval Office of the gift coming from Qatar. Trump already has a model mounted on a stand, a big model in the Oval Office. If you don't get a chance to see that, look it up. It's that big giant flying palace super plane, and it's painted in red, white, and blue, which is what Trump wanted for Air Force One, remember? He wants to change the colors from the blue and white that it is, blue, white, and silver, to red, white, and blue. And I'm sure everybody is going to have a friggin' cow about it. But I got to tell you, that flying palace model in red, white, and blue, says the United States on the side, looks absolutely gorgeous. That's going to be a great looking plane. We're going to hear all the Democrats cry about it. It's going to be glorious. So anyway, if there's anything I talked about tonight that you want to make any commentary on, I'd absolutely love to hear it. I want to say hi to the new viewer. Forgive me, I don't remember your username while I'm walking. I don't even remember what mine is. I think it's Megatrends, at Megatrends or something like that. Not really sure. Know the channel name, J.Beau. But anyway, I want to welcome a new viewer who showed up to my channel to look at Mini 14s. Left a comment on my last walk. So thank you very much. If you become a regular viewer, that would be awesome. And I understand fully that an hour and a half to 2 hours watching an entire walk is not very exciting. But this is an exercise vlog. It's about fitness and staying in shape, and I talk about stuff. So it's perfectly fine to skip ahead, skip through, whatever, and pick out what you want to watch and listen to. Or if you don't watch it all, that's okay too. I'll survive. And these are basically for me anyway, just to have something to do to break the monotony from walking. Gives me an excuse to talk, because I walk just about every day. So if I don't find some way to entertain myself, it gets boring pretty quick. I only have about 5, maybe 6 different routes, and someday we'll be heading up this road a ways, coming from up that way. So I got all kinds of routes that I plot out. Usually the time of year also dictates that, because winter time here, we got snow plows and sidewalks with snowbanks, and some places with no sidewalks. You don't have room to walk on the side of the road because you'll be walking with traffic. So those routes I don't walk in the wintertime. So anyway, yes, I do walk in the wintertime, if weather permits. I'm not going to walk in too much ice. If I do, it'll be a safe city route where the sidewalks have been cleared. Those may or may not be as exciting. But like I said, it's for the fitness. I managed to lose about 40 pounds or so 4 years ago. It stayed off. All I did was I changed my diet, which I stopped eating pasta, stopped drinking soda with sugar, which is actually corn syrup. I stopped eating chips, cookies, and what I mean by stopped eating them is I stopped eating them regularly. Every couple of months I'll get a pepperoni pizza, and it tastes oh so much better because you don't eat it all the time. And sometimes I'll make cheeseburgers. I don't eat bread anymore, so sometimes I'll have bread with cheeseburgers. And it all has to do with
5 miles.
We just hit 5
Time,
miles.
1 hour 24 minutes 32 seconds.
So we did 5 miles in an hour and 24 minutes. Pretty good time. So with that, I guess you'll have to stay tuned for my health issues. I'm sure I've talked about them before. Nothing major, just a celiac disease from eating poisoned food. And they're poisoning us with the food, folks. So I changed my diet and started exercising, and the weight just came right off. So I'm wearing pajama pants that a few years ago were too small, and now they're loose on me and they're baggy. That's the difference. And I look good when I get out of the shower. I'm happy with it. Anyways, friends, you're strapped to my chest, so I'm not going to take you off to do a selfie goodbye. But as you can see, we have leaves. And I want to say thank you very much for walking with me. Click like and subscribe. Share the content. And get out walking, friends. Get out and walk. Even if it's just half a mile, whatever you can do. And if you have health issues, make sure you discuss it with your doctor first. So I guess that's about it, friends. God bless you. God bless America. Say a prayer for President Trump. And say a prayer for you and your family. And I will do the same. Good night, my friends. We will see you on the next walk. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.